Dear student friends, I am again in front of you with this fourth episode for soaps and detergent and to start a new topic, chemotherapy. So you may be well aware of the fact that the second wave of corona in Karnataka is at a risk point and almost 18 districts are about 25 to 30% in range of their total population, in which the Belgaum district also. So we are also under risk. So to protect ourselves or to protect entire human being, let us pledge yourself wearing mask, keeping the distance, and not to come out of home. These are the three priority points that you have to follow and make others to follow for the better life for us. Otherwise, maybe in the month of September or in the month of October, the third wave is very dangerous. We don't know what happens at that time. So, keeping all this in mind, an interesting topic, chemotherapy, which is again related to the today's situation, and it is your syllabus topic where we have to come across certain definitions, certain kinds of classification of chemotherapeutic agents, that is the drugs. So that I will discuss later now. Now, meanwhile, let me give you first in this fourth unit, that is chemotherapy topic, what they have mentioned in as per your syllabus is general introduction, then the requirement of an ideal or synthetic drugs, requirement of an ideal synthetic drugs, then classification of drugs on the basis of their action, then synthesis of certain drugs mentioned in the following list. The first one is antipyretic drug or antipyretic chemotherapeutic agent. So in which the two compounds you have to understand their synthesis and use. First one is antipyrine, second one is paracetamol. Then number two, anesthetics. So in this anesthetics, you have to consider two types of anesthetic, Novocaine and pentothal sodium. So anesthetics, as already most of you may be knowing, these are soothing effect producing to the body. So local anesthetic and general anesthetic. So general anesthetic is little bit milder in action, and local anesthetic is particularly given at the time of delivery or major operations. Then antihistamines. So these are certain kind of drugs which will make effect on some effects on the body, like continuous sinus problem. For this we have chlorpheniramine malate, that is PCM, not N, it is a PCM, not physics, chemistry, maths, it is a chlorpheniramine malate. So this particular compound is used as antihistamines. Antihistamines are a particular kind of drugs which will use to cure some of the symptoms related to the sinus problem or the drugs which are not affecting or are possible to okay. Then anti-malarials. These drugs will specifically attack the malarial parasite site which is caused by the bite of a female that is a female mosquito. So for this, we have antimalarial two kinds. One is polydrine and second one is chloroquine. So we have to discuss about synthesis of polydrine, chloroquine and their uses. And the fifth one is antibiotics. So antibiotics basically affect the microorganisms which are causing certain disease to the human body. So here, what I suggest you is antibiotics play a vital role for curing the body affected by microorganisms. So in this, we have to consider the synthesis of chloromycin, penicillin and tetracycline. These are the three important compounds mentioned in the antibiotic system. Then the last one is parapharmaceutical reagent like Benedict reagent, sodium citrate and Buford reagent. Okay, so all these are the name of the reagent. Benedict reagent, sodium citrate and Buford reagent. So these all are used for testing the blood sample in the human body. So Benedict reagent will give you in the urine what is the percentage or what is the level of sugar in the human body. Okay, so I will discuss all these one by one details. So before I discuss all these things, let me make you people to clear certain points and certain things which I have left in soaps and detergents. Okay, so already you are very aware of the fact that soaps and detergents, they have specific general formula RCONA for soap, that is R is a long chain hydrocarbon. It may be 15 carbon, 17 carbon, 18 carbon or 21 carbon, like a long chain hydrocarbon. Okay, long chain hydrocarbon containing sodium and potassium. So sodium salt of long chain fatty acids are generally called as soap. Sodium and potassium salts, as they have lot of applications in the earlier discovery stage, and they play a vital role for cleaning the clothes or materials in general. But they are having a limited application only to soft water. They won't undergo cleaning process with what I call hard water. Thus, the new type of substances similar to soaps were isolated or prepared. They are called as detergents. As you know, the formula for detergent are SO4 minus Ne plus, or in generally ROSO2O minus Na. Okay, so I have given here the particular example, sodium alkyl sulfonate, that is sodium lauryl sulfate, CH3CH2 10 times OSO2O minus Na. Okay, so detergents have got two type of structure, RSO4 minus Na, and another is alkyl substituted benzene ring having SO3 minus Ne. Okay, sodium para alkyl benzene sulfonates. So these are the two types of detergents. And one point is, detergents are more effective than the soaps because they work both in soft as well as hard water. So soaps and detergents are collectively called as emulsifiers. Okay, so you may ask, what is an emulsifier? What exactly the meaning of this? I will come to these soaps and detergent as an emulsifier. That's the cleaning agents which are having the long chain hydrocarbon part water insoluble and COO minus is a water soluble, and similarly detergents have R as a long chain hydrocarbon and SO3 minus and Na. So here also long chain hydrocarbon part and sulfonate group. So both soap and detergent will act as a surfactant material. Surfactant material. So that I will discuss next slide. So before that, I want to go to this particular manufacture of soap by modern process, saponification. So one of your friend asked me the question. So we understood the manufacture of soap very easily, but the flow chart is not correct. So that is why I have decided to give a correct, clear, understandable flow chart for you. So I will explain it again in the same fashion what I have explained, but the flow chart is differing. Okay, so as already you know saponification. What is that saponification? You know, a triglyceride ester when treated with sodium hydroxide, that is an alkali, or NaOH or KOH. So what is a triglyceride ester? Triglyceride ester molecule is having a structure of CH2O COR, then CHOCOR, CH2OCOR. That means the three hydrocarbons which are in a chain having the ester part, that is OCOR, ester parts, when treated with sodium hydroxide or NaOH, they will break the molecule of triglyceride ester to give CH2OH, CHOH, CH2OH, that is a glycerol, and a long chain fatty acid, that is RCOONE. So long chain fatty acid of sodium or potassium is known as your soap. Plus certain amount of heat energy will be released. Now for this I have mentioned certain steps. The steps are: manufacture of soap involves the following three steps. Hydrolysis of oil and fat in presence of zinc oxide catalyst at a high temperature around 300 to 350 degrees centigrade and around 300 to 400 atmospheric pressure. Okay, so this particular point one has to notice very clearly. That is, you can take oil or fats and subject it for hydrolysis. So the temperature of the tank should be 300 to 350 degrees centigrade. So in a big iron tank, you have to keep oil and fat along with the catalyst like zinc oxide. The perforated catalyst of zinc oxide is kept in the tank, and the pressure inside the tank should be high, around 300 to 400 atmospheric pressure. Then and then only the oil and fat undergo hydrolysis to give your glycerol and long chain fatty acid. Then second point is distillation of fatty acids. So oil and fat undergo breakage to give long chain fatty acids and glycerol. The glycerol is collected at the bottom, while the long chain fatty acids, they move under vacuum pressure to a vacuum chamber. So whereby the fatty acids are get converted into at a high pressure fatty acid in gaseous form. Then in the third process, neutralization of concentrated fatty acids with alkali by KOH or NaOH. So these are the three important steps one has to remember. Then now with this I want to move to the other part, that is the important part, that is you can see. Here this is a flow chart one has to remember. So it's a big tank. So I have shown a big tank, iron tank. So from the top, hot water is blown, means the water which is in the vapor form is allowed to flow from the top. And at the bottom there is another arrow mark I have shown. So at this stage, what one has to do is, they has to keep zinc oxide catalyst in a porous form. Then in the side figure you can see The fats and the catalyst, what I said now, they are kept in blended tank, and steam is allowed to pass in the blended tank. So whereby the vapors of oils and fats are allowed to move into the catalyst surface. So at the near the bottom of iron tank, the zinc oxide catalyst is there. So over that, oil fats are pushed through the steam, and the temperature inside this iron tank is nearly 400 degrees, 300 to 400 degrees centigrade. And this tank is generally we refer it as a hydrolyzer tank. And this hydrolyzer tank have two outlets. One is at the top, another at the bottom. So the saponification takes place and oils and fats gets undergo hydrolysis and thereby formation of glycerol. The glycerol is collected at the bottom and the crude glyceride is collected at the bottom I have shown in the flow chart. But at the same time, in the hydrolyzer tank, we are having the fatty acids. The fatty acids are in vapor form. They will move to the another tank that is called a purification tank, where there is a high pressure maintained. And the entire fatty acids are compressed here in the purification tank and made to flow into a neutralizer tank. So the neutralizer tank, just I have shown in the chart, consisting of an agitator. Okay, so where the agitator is moving. Now the fatty acids, after passing through the purification tank, where the fatty acids in the form of vapor are allowed to move into a neutralizer tank, and at the same time you can see the caustic soda, that is NaOH or KOH, alkaline tank is there. From the solution of alkaline, that's a concentrated solution of caustic soda alkaline, along with the fatty acid vapors are allowed to agitated in the neutralizer tank. Thus, the conversion of fatty acid into soap, that is the sodium salt of long chain fatty acid, begins. And these soaps are now allowed to move into the required shape or modules as a soap blenders, and certain ingredients which are required to get a perfume type smell to the soap is added at this stage. And finally, the soaps are commercially synthesized by this hydrolyzer process. So this is a thing that I want to explain. Last time this was not there. Okay, so the rest thing I don't want to go because already you are aware of this fact. Okay, now emulsifier, builders, which are essential for the soaps and detergents, because generally at the time of washing mechanism, I think all my girl students, means lady students, are knowing this phenomenon very well. So here, let me make a point clear. You take the washing powder or a soap, okay, and keep in bucket containing around 2 to 3 liters of water, and you just shake it. So you will get a foam. So to this foam, when you add the cloth material containing the black spot or oily spot and keep it for several minutes, or add hot water and agitate with your hand, you will find after 5 or 10 minutes the white foam which you are getting in an earlier stage will become little bit dark or brown, wherein you will find the black or brown color on the surface, and at the same time if you just open and see what happened to the cloth, the dust particle or oil particle or soil particle which is present on the cloth get removed. How this is removed? This removal is possible with its mechanism already I have shown. So the mechanism is very clear. Here is a long chain hydrocarbon part, it is a non-polar, and the water soluble component part is COONA. Here, when you just keep the cloth containing the oil or a dust particle along with your soap, which is soaked well in the water, so there is a formation of a micelle. So what is this micelle? Micelle consisting the hydrocarbon part binds, hydrocarbon part means long chain hydrocarbon, non-polar part, tail, binds with your oil or the dust particle, and the carboxylate anion, that is a COO minus Na, it get dissolved in water because it's a water soluble component. But the long chain hydrocarbon is a water insoluble. So it will bind with oil or dust particle present on your cloth. When you rub it or shake it, what happens? It will come out with as a micelle. So in this micelle you can find the non-polar tail hydrocarbon part is having a contact with what I say your dust particle. So when we shake it properly, it will get removed and the cloth become clean. Now, nowadays you can see there are so many soaps and detergents available in the market. So you can see the Tide, or you can see the Nirma powder, or even you can see the Ariel. So 80% of all these powder are having colorless powder, and it includes certain colored material. If you just observe very carefully the soap powder which you will purchase at the rate of 125 or 200 or more than that sometime, because the Ariel is having highest rate, you will find some granules present in that white powder. So these are nothing but surfactants. So these surfactants will be either blue in color or green in color or yellow in color. So what is the role of these surfactants? So that I will discuss in the next slide. Now you can see when the soap is, that is a liquid soap or soaps or fats is added, there is one process called emulsification, that is the emulsification. So what is a emulsification? An emulsifier is capable of just you can see, depressing one liquid into another immiscible liquid, dispersing one liquid into another immiscible liquid. This means that when oil which attracts the dirt doesn't naturally mix with the water, soap can suspend oil or dirt particle in such a way that it can be removed. The soap will form a micelle that I just have explained and trap the fats within it. Then here comes the important term. Sometimes there may be 2 marks question. Define the term emulsifiers. So emulsifier contain water soluble hydrophilic part and insoluble lipophilic part which dissolves in oil. That means the water insoluble part is insoluble in oil or lipid able to form interface between aqueous and liquid medium due to the presence of both hydrophilic and lipophilic part. Emulsifiers are now known to be as amphiphilic in nature and are surface active substance required for the formation of emulsifiers. So in general, emulsifiers are surface active material. So here all the soaps and detergents are generally considered as emulsifiers. No doubt they are having long chain hydrocarbon part, they will come in contact with the oil or dirt particle and remove it. But the role is they will make a binding of hydrocarbon tail of either soap or detergent with what I call oil or dirty particle present in the cloth. So there is a binding starts between the oil or dust particle present on the cloth with the hydrocarbon part. So whereby the phenomenon takes place, that is emulsification. And this emulsification can occur with the surface active materials like soaps and detergent, and these soaps and detergents are made more effective by adding the ingredient like sodium tripolyphosphate Na3P310O10. Okay, so sodium tripolyphosphate is one of the important additive to soaps and detergents. So already I have quoted that when you look into the soap powder, it is not a white nowadays. So what is that? White powder consisting of the colored material, and these colored materials may be sodium tripolyphosphate like this, which are supporting material for emulsification to soaps and detergents. Now another term we come across, what are surfactants? Surfactant are also surface active substance such as detergent that when added to a liquid reduces its surface tension, thereby increases its spreading and wetting property. So what is a surfactant? For example, sodium tripolyphosphate is there in your soaps and detergent. When you add the cloth containing the oil or dust particle and shake it, so what happens? There is a bonding of a soap detergent containing long chain hydrocarbon. So along with that, the sodium triphosphate will also help to remove these particles very quickly, and they are also called as surface active agents. And what they will do, they will remove, after making the entire cloth wet, the oil particles are removed after the wetting process. So this is about the surfactants. Now we move on to the another important term, that is called builders. Detergent are generally having a builder property materials. Okay, detergent builders are the materials which can be used to bind cations, mainly calcium plus 2 or magnesium plus 2, contained in wash solutions that results in water softening. Builders enhance the quality of water, thereby making the detergents work in a more effective and efficient manner. So sodium tripolyphosphate that I have given present in the detergent acts as a building material, that is called a builder. So no doubt the detergents are acting as a cleaning agents, but the cleaning property is enhanced due to the presence of sodium trisodium polyphosphate. Okay, so now let us see at the end. Surfactants are Surfactant and builders are the two most important ingredients. These are the ingredients in laundry industry or household personnel for cleaning. They play a vital role in washing processes. The development of various surfactants like anionic, non-ionic, cationic, azotarionic, and silicate, silicone surfactants and builders, inorganic, organic, polymeric, used in the different compositions. So, surfactant and builders are the two important ingredients. They must be present along with either soap or with detergent to have more effective role. So this is what I interested to tell about this regarding surfactant, builders, and activity while cleaning the soaps and detergents. Now with this move on to the most important topic, that is chemotherapy. Just in the beginning I have given the syllabus. Now directly I move on to the term, what exactly meaning of chemotherapy or a drug. Chemotherapy or drugs are life-saving agents. So these are called as a life-saving. So exactly we have to think that the chemical substances used to prevent or cure disease by destroying infectious microorganisms without affecting the host tissues and keep the human body in a state of normal health. Such substance is called a drug or chemotherapeutic agent. Such chemical substances are also called as a chemotherapeutic agents or a drug. The system using chemotherapeutic agent in prevention and treatment of disease is known as chemotherapy. So very simple. What is a chemotherapy? Chemotherapy is a science or a medical science in which the most of the chemical substances which are used to prevent and cure the disease by destroying the infectious microorganisms without affecting the host tissues. So that is a simple definition of a chemotherapeutic agent or a chemotherapeutic process, or in generally whenever a drug is there. Drug is a chemical substance which is having certain chemical formula and it will save the life. The chemical substance which save the life is generally treated as a drug or chemotherapeutic agent. Keeping this in mind, let me tell you what is the exact meaning of chemotherapeutic agent later on. So before that, whenever a drug or chemotherapeutic agent is there, what are the requirements or what are the characteristics of an ideal drug or chemotherapeutic agent? When a drug or chemotherapeutic agent is there, so how do you say it is an ideal? For that there are certain points. The number one is the drug must be pure and should remain concentrated at the site of disease. Okay? The pure drug should remain concentrated at the site of disease. Number two, only specific bacterial cells should be susceptible to the drug but not to the normal body tissue cells. So this is a very important point. So when a drug is inserted in the body, So it should have a specific effect on bacteria which are to be killed, but not to the other healthy cells. So this is the second point. Third one, the effective or curative drug dosage should be small, too small, and the drug should be exert toxic effect only, non-toxic effect. So a very small amount of drug is sufficient to cure the body. So that is the meaning, and should have toxic effect. Then the fourth point is the drug should have minimum side effect. The drug should have minimum side effect. So this is very important. If you take a drug, for example, if you take a paracetamol, if your body is paining, if you take one tablet or two tablets nowadays, what happen? Body pain will be reduced or minimized after 2 to 3 hours. But sometime you will become nervous. That is due to the side effect produced by the paracetamol in your body. So that is why I insist all chemistry students, let us take any tablet with the consultation of a doctor, that is a physician. So the way in which they prescribe, for example, they prescribe for 2 days or 3 days, you have to take the treatment for 3 days for those tablets. Otherwise, it will have side effect and it may cause like anything to you. So that is why young chemistry people, so please note that. Don't become yourself as a doctor, because it may have a lot of effect on you. Now lastly, I want to tell one few lines that in practice there is no ideal drug to exhibit all above conditions. So the first condition, it should be pure and have no side effect, okay, and it should concentrate on a particular site, and it will affect only bacterial cells, and it is more effective. So all these, whatever the statement made for an ideal drug, it is no doubt, it is well and good. But in practice we don't have, or we cannot have such things, because the drug gets widely distributed all over the body. This is a main weakness. The overuse of the drug preferably reduce the resistance of your drug on the body. Every drug has side effect. So these are some of the basic points one has to remember. It is very easy to say that there should be an ideal drug. So it will go to particular site, it will cure that site and make it free. But the entire body where the distribution of drug takes place will have a different effect. So that is why ideal drug is not possible nowadays. Now keeping this in mind, we move on to the next slide. So here in this case again certain different definitions were given for the drugs. A drug is any substance other than food that provides nutritional support, that when inhaled, injected, smoked, consumed, absorbed via a path on the skin or dissolved under the causes a temporary physiological change over the body. The pharmaceutical drugs are also called as medicines or medicines, a chemical substance used to treat, cure, and prevent, or diagnose or diagnose a disease, or promote well well-being. Okay. Once these chemicals are absorbed into the systematic circulation, they bind with a certain proportion, a certain patient, and this changes. Okay, there are certain example. Okay, now my point is I don't want to go all these points, just you can read out later on. Well, the study of drug or the chemicals and the effect they have on living animals is called as pharmacology. Okay, it explains what drugs are and what they do to a body function and what the body does to them. So these are the certain internet downloaded points. Just this is only for information for you. So whenever a substance is said to be a drug, you remember it should be a chemical substance having specific composition of the elements present in it, and it should be approved by Drug Control of India, and should have certain parameters suggested by either it may be WHO or the pharmacology conditions. Okay, so this is the slides which will help to understand about the drug. Then now, a small quantity, let us see, 0.005% of a gram is sufficient to have effect on the body by a particular drug. That I want to make a statement. A small quantity of drug is sufficient to bring lot of changes. So with this we move on to how the drugs are isolated and what are the natural sources available. Okay, so you can see drugs are obtained from 6 major sources: plant sources, animal sources, mineral, that is from earth sources, microbiological sources, synthesis methods or synthesized, then recombinant DNA technology. So this is a recent technology. Okay, now you can see regarding the plant sources. The plant sources is the oldest source of the drug. Most of the drugs in ancient time were derived from plant. Almost all plants are used. That is the leaves, stem, bark, fruits and roots. Now when you go for the leaves of, I think it's a biological term, Digitalis, digitalis, not digital, it is digital, digitalis, Puarva, are the sources of digitoxin and digoxin, which are carbic glycosides. So the leaves of the plant Digitala purva, I don't know exactly the technical word. I think CBJ students are better. The leaves of eucalyptus gives oil which is used for cough treatment. Even eucalyptus oil are also used for pain reducing. Then tobacco leaves, though the tobacco is very dangerous, which produces the cancer, but it contains nicotine. So nicotine is one of the chemical substances used in the treatment of certain disease. Then Atropa Billabona gives atropine. So atropine is another chemical substance which is used as a drug. Now with this we move on to the another slide. Okay. Now regarding the minerals, metallic and non-metallic sources. So the chemical substance which are acting as a minerals and non-metallic sources are also the best useful medicines. For example, iron is used in the treatment of iron deficiency, that is anemia. Then mercurial salt is used in the treatment of syphilis, skin disease. Zinc is used as a supplement. Zinc oxide paste is used in wounds and cuts. In eczema. And you know the iodine. Iodine is used as an antiseptic. Iodine supplements are also used for antiseptic treatment. Gold salts are used in the treatment of arthritics, rheumatoid arthritis. So the body is getting more pain, then the gold salts are generally used. So this is about the some of the chemical substances which are minerals present in the chemistry. They are directly used for certain disease curing. Fluorine has antiseptic property. Fluorine. Borax powder has antiseptic property as well. Selenium as selenium sulfate is used in anti-dandruff and shampoos. Anti-dandruff shampoos. Petroleum is used in the preparation of liquid paraffins. So you can see the most of the chemical substances have got specific applications as a drug. Okay, roots. I think it is again CBZ combination people, they may be knowing. Lipica kaunha root gives emetine used to induce vomiting in accidental poisoning. It also has aminobacidyl property. Rauwolfia serpentina gives risperidone, that is hypotensive agent. Then the roots of risperidone was used for hypertension treatment. Then the bark, cinchona bark gives quinine and quinidine, which are anti-malarial drugs. Quinine is also anti-rheumatic property. So cinchona bark containing a quinine and quinine are anti-malarial drugs. Similarly, Altropa belladina gives atropine, which is anticholinergic. Then we have Hypsostomus nigeria gives hyposcine, which is also anticholinergic. Then there are some stamps which used in the treatment of tobacco querine, within which skeletal muscles used in the general anesthesia. Okay, so please note that there are some specific biological terms which is very difficult for me to pronounce, but I think you people learned in your PUC as well as in degree regarding the biological terms. Please go through them and try to pronounce as they are. Okay. Now, mm, one can classify the drugs depending upon their action. So, this is a simple way to make you people to familiar with some of the terms. Okay, the first one is analgesics. So, the drugs or chemotherapy agent which is considered as an analgesic. So, what it will do? These drugs used to relieve the pain in the body. Suppose some headache or body pain is there, analgesics are generally used. Then next comes antipyretics. What are the antipyretic drugs? Antipyretic are the substances that reduce the body fever if the body temperature is there. So nowadays, most of the cases you are observing in the pandemic situation for today's virus corona. So if the body temperature is more than 97, 98 or 99, so you may be a little bit nearer to this corona affected part. If it is more than 100, then it is 100% considered as a effect. That is antipyretics. Antipyretics are the substance that reduce the fever. So that is why there are so many tablets available in the market. So the simple tablets used for antipyretic, that is reducing the fever, are paracetamol. Okay, but the recently most useful is Dolo 650. So it is a high dose and that is an antipyretic that will reduce the body temperature immediately, but without the suggestions of any physician. Don't take these tablets. Okay. Then we have anesthetics. What is anesthetic? Anesthetics are the substances which will induce the soothing effect in the body. That is, an anesthetic or anesthetic is a drug used to induce anesthesia. In other words, it results in the temporary loss of sensation or awareness. So, anesthetic agents generally affects the central nervous system and make the body under sleep. Anti-inflammatory drugs. Anti-inflammatory is the property of the substance or the treatment that reduces inflammatory or swelling in the body. Suppose your body is having some inflammation or swell somewhere else, then anti-inflammatory drugs are to be given so that the patient will be get relieved immediately. Then the next one is antibiotic. It's a very important point. An antibiotic is a type of antimicrobial substance, active agent against bacteria, and is the most important type of antibacterial agent for fighting bacterial infections. So suppose a body is having affected by some microorganisms, then these microorganisms are cured only by taking the antibiotic. So antibiotic basically have effect over the microorganisms. Then we have antihistamines, a drug or other compound that inhibits the physiological effect of histamine, used especially in the treatment of allergic. Okay, antihistamines, these are the substances which are used for the treatment of allergy. For example, some people are experiencing continuous cough or continuous itching or some allergy like continuous nasal. So for all these, the antihistamines are the best material used for treatment. So anti-asthmatics. These drugs which provide symptomatic relief of asthmatic attack by relaxing smooth muscles of bronchitis. Okay, so I have just given some of the important type of the drugs which based on their activity, based on their action, they may be classified in the different area. Similarly, there are chemotherapeutic agents which used for the treatment of cancer, breast cancer, whatever it may be. So these cancer can be used, cured by using chemotherapeutic agent. So I think you may be heard about the iodine isotope, so which is the best useful material for treating the cancers. Okay, so with these certain some hints, we will go next time regarding these all the types which I have mentioned in the beginning, one by one, the synthesis of those compounds and applications. So with this, I would like to say goodbye today, and we will meet next time. So before I go again, I want to just remind you that today's situation, particularly for pandemic, is very dangerous. So I request all of you to take your care of your health, not only your health, your family, your nearby people, your town or your city or village, whatever it may be, wherever you are residing, please take care of everyone and use the mask and keep the social distance and make the human to live longer. Otherwise, particularly in the third phase, I don't know what would be the situation for us. So, with all these, I say thank you. We will meet next time. Thank you.